Good morning. We're going to see if this works with multiple channels and streams here. Looks like I still have to connect Twitter, so I'm going to try that. As we all get set up. Here's my phone. Looks like I'm getting a code for Twitter. Okay, let's see if that worked for Twitter. Looks like it is. We're good. Title. Okay, so it looks like we're online on YouTube, we're online on LinkedIn, we're online on Facebook. Periscope, not certain about. Sending data might be the Twitter logon and rights on this computer. And then it looks like we are live on Twitch as well. Give me 1 second to check this. And then we are going to run through some questions that came up. Perfect. Some questions that came up yesterday on Inside Microsoft Teams. Give me a moment. Hey everybody, welcome. I ordered 3 chef hats for cooking with Teams, and because I'm wearing a black shirt today instead of my regular Teams purple, this seems like an appropriate color to leverage for this broadcast. I'm coming to you live from Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, possibly Twitter. It looks like I might have to do some security things there, but I have a MacBook Pro and a iPad, and I'm going to show you a couple things we can do in the application OBS, which we talked about and I demoed yesterday on Inside Microsoft Teams, and there were some questions about how that worked. So let me see if I can figure out. I'm using Restream on my Mac to share OBS. I think I can just go to scene 3 to show you the OBS settings here. I've got my video in the corner, which you should be able to see. So OBS in this case is connected to my Restream account. So I've got a couple extra windows here. multi-streaming, telling me what platforms I'm on. I've got the title of my stream. Looks like I can do a genre or games too. And then I have my messaging or chat overlay here where I can send to YouTube directly. And I can also send to Twitch. Pardon me while I figure out what I didn't plug in here. It looks like my Mac is not plugged in. Let's give it some juice. There we go. You'll see it's all happy now in the upper right-hand corner with the battery at 8%. This would have been a short demo without plugging it in. So I've got these different windows in OBS, which can float. I can pull them out so that I can move them around, kind of get them out of my way in the interface. And if I do so, it'll give me more room to work with the OBS application itself. And let's see if I can easily change this so it's not so showing you the inside of the inside here. There, it looks like that might be better. Better for sharing it. Can I open it twice? Let's check that out on a Mac. See if the application can be opened twice so I can show you the interface. It doesn't look like I can. Well, this is the OBS interface, but it's going to have me in the interface as well as the screen sharing. So if you can ignore the part where you see me multiple times, we can talk about the other areas within OBS. So I can take in, you can see here I'm dragging around my video. I can take in multiple sources from my device. So one of the sources can be a window capture, and a window capture can be the window title. One of the sources can be video from my computer, so I can actually play video and size that video within the frame. I can do images, overlay images, the whole display, which is what I'm doing in scene 3 over here with my video and the full screen display. And then I can create multiple scenes down in the lower left. And what I did on the Cooking with Teams demo was I took a computer that had whiteboard on it. If I go up here and get into whiteboard, and I start writing on my iPad, you'll notice that the video overlay shows the whiteboard behind my video. And the way I did that was by sharing. If I go back down here, so you can see OBS. Instead of just the video and the full screen display capture, I added a source of a window capture, and that window capture source was the whiteboard app, which you can see here, overlaid on top of the other 2 video streams that I have. So, for instance, if I hit the eraser and I erase things on my whiteboard, they look like I'm erasing them in the space or the context of this application. So it's easy for me to take these layers and make the layers larger, smaller, and then also opaque or transparent. So what I did with this window capture is under filters, I added a chroma key layer and I just made the opacity less than 100%. 100% you can't see what's behind it. So all you see is where I have my whiteboard, and I'd have to size it correctly, maybe up in the corner. And say welcome up there. Or I can go to the properties of the whiteboard, or sorry, the filters of the whiteboard, and under chroma key, just make it translucent or opaque. And this allows the layers below to be shown. And one of the layers below, as you can see, is my video and my screen sharing of everything. So now I can see both my welcome, and then I can see the video layer of OBS with my different 3 sources. I can turn those sources off. If I turn off my video, you don't see my video, you just see my display. If I leave my video on and I turn off my display, you just see my video. And then I can resize my video in OBS. And then this can be pumped out to a lot of different things. On the right-hand side here, I can get to the menu here. Let me minimize a couple of these windows. There we go. And we'll turn on the display capture. Turn off my video. There we go. So on the right-hand side here, I can start a virtual camera and actually use this camera instead of the actual camera in my MacBook, which is a webcam. And then I can use that in Microsoft Teams. So it works perfectly. And you might hear my cat in the background. She decided she wanted to come down to the basement, which is super helpful. She may come up, she may stay down. She likes hanging out in the basement. So that's a little bit about OBS and the ability for this application to be used with the virtual camera, streaming, or I can even do recording and then play this back later. So all of those are options with OBS. And as you can see, I can turn on and off the layers. As you can see, when I leave the layers up and visible, I can go to filters, add a chroma key layer, and then make the layer opaque. And then I have to do that to my video layer here. Filters. I think I'm grabbing the wrong layer here. Video capture. Filters. Add a filter. Chroma key. And then make that opaque. There we go. Now you can see both me, my video, and OBS behind my video here. So the OBS settings allow me to turn on and off my video in the software. You can see when the eyedropper shows the layer, you can see my video overlaid. I can resize my video, move my video window around. So if I want to make myself smaller in a corner, I can do so. And I get rid of my background. And then with chroma key, the wall behind me you can see is like a yellow or looks beige. There's different shades of that color because of the lighting. I've got a fluorescent light above me but if I put something to make the background more of a solid color, I could actually use chroma key to remove the background so that I get that me only video effect over the whiteboard, or in this case OBS. So this is the technique that I used yesterday during the stream to put a whiteboard application over my video. So I took the whiteboard app, resized the whiteboard app in the application OBS, decided where I wanted the whiteboard. Then you have to get to the edges where you can resize it. You right click on the layer and filters. Chroma key is what I used for the opacity to decide how translucent that layer is, and you can do black on white or a whiteboard with black or a different color, and then that can overlay in the software OBS. And this is a free download that you can get from obsproject.com. This is my first time using it on the Mac, and you can see what I'm doing here is using a secondary display on my Mac. The application I use for that, if I get rid of this layer so you can see my screen better, make sure you're just seeing my display now and not OBS. The application I use for dual screen is Duet. What Duet allows me to do is turn my iPad and various sizes of iPad. I've tried this on the large 13-inch, the regular standard 10-inch, and the mini into a secondary screen for my Mac. And the nice thing is that secondary screen becomes a touch screen on top of it. So the Duet application runs, and then up in my area I can choose what my mirroring looks like and which side of the display I wish to have my iPad connected to. So because I have my iPad off to the left side of my screen, I can set it so that I use my mouse off to the left to get to the iPad. Super, super handy. And that is a bit about OBS and the trick I used yesterday to show both my video as well as the whiteboard at the same time. So the iPad is my secondary screen. The iPad has the application whiteboard on it. And if I switch my source in OBS to show both layers, you can see what that allows me to do with the whiteboard app and a touch screen. It allows me to erase. I can move my screens around visually, and then I can even see what is happening in the stream up here in OBS. So I can see what you are seeing in this window, and over here I have the whiteboard to actually demonstrate what I did yesterday. And because yesterday I had the iPad to a point where I could see the white iPad in front of me and look at the video, it looked like I was writing right through to the video camera. But what I was actually doing is using my touch screen, and I had a window with the whiteboard app. It's not available on Mac yet, so I'm using the browser version, whiteboard.microsoft.com. I'm doing that in combination with the Open Broadcaster software, OBS, obsproject.com. And then I'm using my Mac computer to actually take this window, if I drag it over here to my main display and share my main display, which I have in another scene, you can see in the lower right of the OBS application, I can stream, which is how this is going out on LinkedIn, Facebook, and other platforms, including YouTube, or I can start a virtual camera. Starting the virtual camera allows you to use OBS the same way you use your physical webcam in an application like Microsoft Teams. And so that is a little bit of how I did that effect yesterday in the Inside MS Teams video that was played on the Inside MS Teams channel live, and it will be on YouTube soon. So the scenes here, scene 1, or scene 2, and scene 3, allow me to switch. So now you're seeing the whiteboard app on my iPad, my secondary display, and you're seeing it overlaid with my video. Scene 2, you're just seeing my video, so whatever I do on video is shown. And in scene 3, you see my screen, and then I can overlay my video capture layer at the bottom here with the eyedropper, remove, or with the eyedropper put it back in. I can add with the plus, I can remove permanently with the minus. And then my window capture, we talked about, that's the same window capture that just shows the whiteboard app, not the full screen experience. And if I take my whiteboard from one screen to the other, you can actually see, if I remove the whiteboard layer, you will be able to see that the whiteboard app is just yet another application on my computer. So now I have whiteboard covering up my OBS window, and then I'm moving it away to the secondary monitor, which is my iPad. So the iPad works with the mouse as well as with my finger because it's a touchscreen iPad. So I can either use the mouse, set this up as like a secondary display, or I can use the touch screen on the iPad to move my windows around and set up the different layers of things that I have going on my Mac computer, including Linux. And so today I'm going to be showing my Teams class in about half an hour how to apparently not download Teams from the download for desktop in Linux, but install it from the App Store for Ubuntu off here to the left. And I did a search for Microsoft Teams, and I found Teams in the App Store and an updated copy of the preview for Linux, which looks like, let's see if I've got the right window up here. I do. Drag it off to the secondary screen and make sure you can see the Linux screen full screen. There we go. So this is the preview app for Teams on Ubuntu Linux. You can see that I have two teams and multiple channels set up within my Teams environment. I am logged on as the administrator of a fictitious Contoso tenant in Microsoft 365. And you can see kind of the same thing that I did with the whiteboard, but now I'm doing it with just a Linux virtual machine. So I'm showing you a Linux virtual machine. I'm showing you the App Store, the ability to go into the App Store and search for something like Microsoft Teams, and then download and install that preview. I'll launch the preview, log in, and voila, I'm using Firefox as a browser. I can go to teams.microsoft.com and log in from Firefox. As long as I use my username and password. I can also use the preview app on the Linux platform, and I'm also showing you the overlay in OBS of me, my video camera, and my iPad secondary screen with the OBS application now touchscreen. So if I want to remove my layer, I can click on my, if I think about this, video capture, and I can click on the eyedropper, and voila, I am removed from the stream, and all you see is my wonderful Teams environment on Linux, the preview app. This is on Ubuntu as a distribution. If I log into one of my many Teams environments, I can open Teams in Firefox, or I can open the Teams preview app from their App Store. And you can find that by searching for Microsoft Teams, or if I looked at installed, I believe I will find that Microsoft Teams Preview was installed. It's about 130 megabytes. And that is how I've done this video with OBS and different layers in the application. Application is touchscreen on my iPad, OBS, and then OBS is sharing my main MacBook Pro screen using the iPad with an application called Duet. It was about $10 to purchase, and it works on multiple computers with multiple iPads, so it was a worthwhile investment. And then I can do layers like my video and my screen display and other things within the OBS software on Mac, PC. I believe there was a Linux download. I haven't done that on a real, true Linux distribution, but I could either download that on Linux with Firefox or search the App Store for OBS, which stands for Open Broadcaster Software. And obsproject.com is their website. That's it for Tech Thursday. Thanks for joining me for Cooking with Teams. We've looked at some things in Microsoft Teams, including the new preview of the Teams app on Ubuntu Linux. We've looked at OBS, Open Broadcaster Software, on the Mac today. I usually use it on the PC. I'll be using it on the PC later today. And then we also looked at Duet, the software that I'm using on my Mac computer to actually broadcast multiple screens at exactly the same time. And so I have two screens, and the display preferences allow me to decide the arrangement of my iPad, which is to the left, and my MacBook Pro, which is to the right. And I believe there's a place to set a reminder here so that you know which display is which. But I don't see that in the settings right now. So that is a whirlwind tour of the technology that I used yesterday on the Inside Microsoft Teams show, showing the difference between a live event, which Restream, by the way, the technology I'm using to stream to multiple platforms. Restream can be used in live events. So I could also bring this into Microsoft Teams in a live event that Restream is producing to multiple platforms at the same time. And Restream is what I use for streaming. I could also do this as a video camera with OBS and then send that out to my Teams environment as the video camera. So it adds a virtual video camera, if you will, or webcam, and that can use your real webcam and other layers, and you can switch between those layers. So super, super helpful. Thanks for joining me for Tech Thursday, everyone, and Cooking with Teams. Have a great day.